And we are live. Hello, everyone. Hi. We are here for the World Championships preview, and we have a special guest, US pair skater Luke Wang. Hello.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you for
I
joining
didn't know
us.
that you wore glasses, Luke. I feel like I'm
Oh.
already learning things about you.
Yeah, I try. Well, just because my eyes haven't been feeling really comfortable recently, and I wear contacts, so I'm like, as long as I get to wear my glasses as much as I can, I try to. Yeah.
Are you short-sighted or far-sighted?
Short, nearsighted. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one. Me too.
Me too.
Okay, everybody's blind.
Yeah. I can't see without my glasses.
I didn't have contacts until I was 16. So as a child, I was like the skater with the glasses that would almost fall off my head when I would spin. So
Me too. Actually, I didn't get contacts until like high school. So or maybe like 8th grade. So all of my childhood years skating, I was like, yeah, I did have those glasses, and it was not a fun time.
I got contacts when I was 14, and the first time I was trying them out, I was on a cruise ship. So it was not the best situation to use them for the first time. Yeah, happy belated birthday as well.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
So your season's done now, right? Are you feeling relaxed?
Yeah. Kind of feeling happy that it's done and moving on.
Yeah. How was Junior Worlds for you?
It was fun. Obviously not like at all what we were capable of. I think I was not expecting to feel so like tired by the end of it. I think for pairs, I think all of us in that event were kind of like by the free skate, we were like all exhausted. And it's not the typical pair schedule for junior or senior to be like the last event of the whole week. So like the dancers, we switched with the dancers, and they were kind of making fun of us that they took our Wednesday, Thursday, and we had to do like the Friday, Saturday. But no, it was honestly just not kind of what we were all used to in terms of competition schedules. So managing like 2 days of practice, like getting there, and then there were like multiple days, and then just a weird adrenaline management, and then like energy wise. So something I wasn't used to. I'm sure a lot of us weren't used to. So definitely that free skate event was a messy one all around. But yeah. But so I mean, first of many, hopefully. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's all experience. I feel like that's the thing about the junior. It's like even if you know, and you've had the experience of like winning the medal, and that's wonderful. But also it's like that's over when it's over, and so the times that aren't so good. And,
Yeah. And honestly, like there were a lot of things to take away from this season that were positive still. So like it's not like, it was a tough one compared to the season prior, but not like it was, the worst thing ever. So yeah, still a lot of good things to kind of take into the next season, which is exciting. And now I get to kind of relax, and I can't believe there's still 2 more competitions, like big competitions of the year with the World Team Trophy also. So like I'm like, these poor senior skaters.
I keep forgetting that World Team Trophy is happening this year.
Yeah.
Thinking, oh, we're done. And then it's like, nope.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. After Junior Worlds, I had flown home for a couple weeks, 2 weeks. And I'm like thinking to myself, like, oh my God, these poor skaters who have to kind of still train for Worlds and then also for World Team Trophy. And I'm like, it's a long one. Especially like going into the Olympic season, I'm like, that's a tough one, because I'm sure all these skaters want to just kind of like be done and kind of start preparing for next year. So.
Yeah, I was going to open this is going to be our second to last live stream of the season, but I guess we still have a team trophy to do.
Yeah, long one. I mean, it's exciting though. I'm sure like the skaters like to have that kind of team spirit, like that one event where it's like you have like the whole team aspect of it, instead of like the on your own, like all season long kind of vibe. So it's a fun one, at least, I'm sure.
Yeah. I always enjoy team competitions.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
I kind of wish we had more of them, or
More, yeah, we didn't have
into the
Japan
normal
Open.
schedule. But yeah,
Right, yeah, without the Japan Open this year, which I feel like is always like a staple starter of the year, like, so yeah.
yeah, and I like the ones where they let, like the Japan Open's fun, where they let you kind of, it's not only like within the same country, you end up, this is me. Yeah, it's kind of fun to see, you know, people cheering for each other and
Yeah.
teaming outside of the countries as well.
Right,
But
right, yeah.
Itsumi's internet is crashing, so
oh no.
I
Okay.
put her in timeout while she figures that out. And I forgot what I want to say because I'm like, oh, I had to do that. I didn't want to interrupt you. I'm so sorry.
So you're not going to be at Worlds in person, right, Luke?
I still haven't like fully decided. I guess I'm leaning. I really wanted. There's one event that they're doing the kind of a skate fest for. I think it's like I don't know what it's called, but I know Nathan and Christy and
Yeah, I'm gonna go to that. Yeah.
House. There's so our I'd been asked to kind of like if I wanted to go to that and kind of like be there to help out and all and whatnot. And I haven't kind of fully decided yet. Like honestly, the flights weren't even that bad. And I like have people there like if I need to like kind of crash for a couple nights or whatever. But it was kind of just like, well, I've been traveling a lot recently. And then so like I don't know, I just got back from home and I just got back into the normal routine again. I haven't fully decided. It would be so fun because I was there in 2016 as like this little boy. And so like it would be nice to kind of be back, and we don't get that chance very often to be like a home big event. And I feel like this is like the biggest event of the year. And to have it at home is like kind of awesome. So I would love to go. So we'll see if I like make up my mind like 2 days before, and I just show up on like Thursday or whatever. But I want to,
yeah. That of the event that you're talking about that's on Saturday, I think, is it's really cool. And I heard about it early on, and I think that when they were not sure whether they were gonna like make it all super public that it was happening, but I guess it is now, like encouraging people to go. So if anyone's gonna be at Worlds, they're gonna be in Boston, there's like it's really cool. It's like a learn to skate thing that's celebrating like Asian
American, yes.
So yeah,
it's cool. Yeah, it seems really cool. And then and Gold House, which is like a nonprofit, it's like a big thing with like kind of I don't know exactly what they do. I know they're like in the entertainment industry and like all of that. They're like gonna be there to kind of support and all of that. So it's cool.
Yeah, like I don't know what to expect, but I'm like, I'm bringing my skates. I'm gonna go. I don't know. We'll see. It looks fun. So
yeah. Definitely go if you're there.
Cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. So many people are gonna be there. I saw like Monique Coleman was gonna be there. I don't know in what capacity, what she's doing. Maybe something with US figure skating. I don't know. But it's always nice to have these like big figures kind of continue to like, I don't know, especially pre-Olympic season. It's nice to have people tuning into skating.
They've been making a really big effort to promote this Worlds, and I was really glad to see that it looks like the ticket sales have been pretty good. At least the free skates are partly, some of them are sold out, and so like I'm really hoping that it will have that good feeling. And
I know in 2016 it was amazing. I mean, that was like the first skating event I ever like went to, and like it was sold out. I mean, the short programs were like crazy too. So I feel like Boston holds a special place for skating. Yeah.
That Worlds was right before I started watching skating again, and so I started following the sport again in like the year after, and I was like, oh darn, I missed that, and so I'm excited. And one of the sort of trivia questions that I was trying to figure out, I don't know if you know this, but we were trying to figure out which of the skaters going this year were at the 2016 Worlds.
I saw that, like something about that as well.
Yeah, and it's not that many that were there, but it's kind of funny because in pairs anyway, it's Danny and then Yulia Chechena, whose name I probably just butchered, but I was trying to. But neither of them were their current partners.
Right. Is it just those two for pairs?
It was those two for only two for pairs that were there in 2016 and are there now.
Wow. I saw Dennis.
Dennis is the only man.
Which
the top 3 dance teams are the only but they're the only dancers who are still who are there. And then Kristen Spores is the only woman because she went as like a 15-year-old in her first Worlds, did not reach that level and now is like back there again, which I kind of love that she's had this like sort of second career resurgence. But yeah, obviously there are other people who are still skating but aren't at Worlds this year, like Matteo Rizzo, but like there are but yeah, it was just kind of like a funny trivia thing to see that there has been so much turnover though in the top rank of the sport in that 10 years.
Yeah, with the 2 Olympics since that event. So yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Cool. Should we get started?
Jump into the events? Yeah.
The preview. So the way we do it, Lois, who can't be here today because her internet is failing, gave me a list of
I feel like
her top 3.
We should also say that this is of no fault of Lois's because there's literally like her street is dug up and everything is like the wires are not connected. So just for truly
it's going to be interesting to fix. Let's see if she will be back for the next one. And she gave me her list, so I'm gonna read out the top 3 and then you guys can react to it and see how you feel about it and what your top 3 would be. Top 5 people who stand out. We will talk about everything. So we will start with women. In first place, she has Kaori Sakamoto. In second place, I'm gonna butcher this name, Cheyenne Kim. And in third place, Amber Glenn.
This is really interesting. I was thinking about this too because I'm also thinking about like how it's in Boston. So like in terms of like the American support, it's definitely gonna help, I feel. The other thing, I feel like we don't get to experience a lot of these like home events during the season. I mean, with Skate America, we get that, but I feel like a lot of the times, like the American skaters, at least, are always traveling to Europe every time, or always traveling to Asia. So like that energy just would feel different, I'm sure, to have like that home Worlds. I don't know whether that's more nerve-wracking or whether that's more of like a comfort or like an energy boost, a motivation boost. I'm not sure. But
yeah,
it'll definitely be, I want this moment to be for Amber. Like, I just want her to like have that, like, especially like this is like the last big event of the season. She's gone through everything, and she's come out like stronger and stronger and stronger. This would just be that beautiful cherry on top moment for her to kind of basically cement her as like, hey, this is the last big event before like the Olympic season. Like this, I'm here to kind of contend with all these top skaters. It would definitely be awesome to have that moment. And I think she definitely has like the repertoire and the material behind her this season for sure. Like both the programs, she's definitely been able to kind of she's had almost clean skates of the free skate minus like kind of one fall or here or there. And then short program, she's had that one really nice skate. It'd be nice to just have her put it together finally. And then, yeah.
I think if Amber can go clean, which is like the big thing, then the crowd boost plus the fact that she's got the triple axels, I think should be enough. But it's that question. Whereas like, I feel like a clean Amber, in my mind, should be stronger than like, for example, a clean Chaeyoung, even taking the triple axel out, like I would put Amber's PCS
right
up higher.
And like the question with Chaeyoung is kind of like with the under rotation calls, what will the panel be like? But she's been so consistent. So, you know, like that is like one of those things where like if I was a judge, like I would, especially this is the final event. Typically for Worlds, the judges will feel more inclined to kind of put all the scores out because there isn't anything after.
Yeah.
That's bigger than this. So like with someone like Chaeyoung, who's been just skating clean programs after clean programs, delivering event after event, this could be just that extra boost for her if she delivers the same thing that she did at Asian Winter Games, for example. The judges will, I feel like, give it to her in terms of just how impressive she's stayed consistent all season. It's just like, yeah, will she get the calls that she's looking for? Which will depend on the panel, but yeah. With an Amber, for example, if we're talking Amber, who doesn't, you know, usually receive those under rotation calls because of her nice big jumps, it could be that extra advantage for her in terms of points wise. Yeah, base values.
I mean, that's interesting is like there's a part of me that like I wouldn't be upset about any of them winning. They're like I would love Amber to win just because I love Amber and I've been enjoying watching her season. There's also a part of me that like I would not mind if Cowrie became a four-time.
Yeah.
Like I love her. I think she's such an amazing figure for the sport, and it would be kind of a fun. Like part of me is thinking like, this like the stories that will be kind of in the news or whatever going into the Olympic season, and thinking like I would love it if it was this case of like, you know, she goes in as this like, four-time, can anyone beat her? When we know that there are lots of people that can, because I feel like that would set up an interesting.
That would be really interesting. Or on the other end, you know, let's say she doesn't, you know, win, but she medals and she has like strong skates, and we're going into the Olympic season, and you know, would that fire her up more to kind of if the Olympic gold is her ultimate you know, goal, would that, you know, fire her up more for that? Or, you know, or kind of like see like now if someone else wins, like the rivalries going into next season, there could also be other storylines for that as well, like Chaeyoung, like we were talking about, or Amber.
There's such a strong field here. I was thinking about like looking at through this top group that, you know, and I believe in the talent and possibilities of the rest is like the Wakaba and Monet are both so strong. Alyssa and Isabeau are both potentially so strong. So it's like the depth of this field and like the number of previous world medals in this list is kind of amazing. But I don't know. I'm curious what everyone thinks about like, what are the chances of someone else getting into this podium who hasn't been as consistent all year?
I mean, I can't remember which comment it was who was saying is really down to whoever skates clean. And I think like a mistake in the short or the free could really switch things up.
I feel like
I'd be interested to see like who can skate clean under the pressure.
I feel like the short program will definitely be a telltale, just to see like who's just because I feel like the free skate, everyone has a similar well, I guess even short program, like everyone is doing similar base values, and so I feel like the short program will set you apart in terms of kind of going into that free skate of, do you have that buffer or do you have that advantage, or kind of how much do you have to gain, which I feel like even like in 2016, the short programs were definitely like, I don't know, it made it more interesting because, you know, you had obviously, I remember Gracie winning the short program, and then Evgenia obviously getting that second in the short program, kind of made it interesting going into the free skate though, of who's kind of going to pull it out. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I feel like I could see definitely upsets. Like I wouldn't confidently say right now that it could. I feel like everyone's thinking Kaori, Amber, and Cheon, like whatever that 1, 2, 3 is like, just because of like the consistency all year kind of would go to them. But yeah, I'm thinking like Wakaba has 2 really great programs. I mean, like the material that she has to work with, I feel like could definitely, and they're big pieces, so like to get a crowd going, she definitely could. I'm thinking Alyssa definitely could definitely like slide in there, like in terms of like she's already, a world medalist, so she kind of knows how to deal with these world's nerves and home worlds too. Like that's a fun one where that'll determine a lot.
If she can go without the under rotations, I feel like that's the thing that it's either going to be, it's going to be, depending on where that ends up, could make a huge difference for her, because I feel like she's been having a great season, very clean. I enjoy her program so much. And so like I want her to be in that spot. And then I have to try to be realistic about like knowing that until she has the jumps called clean, it's like she's going to be 10 points below like where I want her to be.
Right. I mean, even with the components, it seems like all season long the judges are like making her kind of prove herself and kind of get back into like top form before they're like handing it out to her, which I mean, like honestly, like short program, I feel like it's been like components wise, I feel like could be so much higher. And when we're talking about kind of the short program world standings, so like when you skate, that could be something that affects the short program outcomes as well, just because like Alyssa won't be in the last group, for example, I don't believe, after world standings, or in terms of world standings. And so components wise, that could be something that, isn't going to be like the advantage for her. Do we know what the last group will be? I think we should.
Yeah, we should. I'm just looking that up now, actually. Because I was looking at the skating scores preview, and of course, that's giving me the overall personal best, which reminded me that Hae-In Lee still has the second highest personal best out of this field, and she's coming back, but she hasn't had that experience this season.
I feel like for her though, the material has always served her, where it was always like an avenue. I feel like with the Phantom program, even they were good avenues for her to kind of like get the crowd going or build the program. I don't entirely remember what her programs are for this season.
We only saw her at the Asian
Winter Games, right?
Winter Games, and then so like she hasn't really had that major international experience this season. So the top group, looking at the world standing, should be let's see, it should be world standings, not season's best.
Yeah.
Sorry. I just had to switch my chart here. Okay, so Kaori, Isabeau, Cheon, Nina Pinzaroni, and wait, I just said 4. Gubanova and Amber.
Okay.
So Amber just makes it in because I'm skipping over Hana Yoshida and Luna. Both are higher. And then next group is Monet, Nina Petrokina, Kimi Rapond, Hae-In, Katya Kurakova, and Maddie Skizis. So that's the problem, is just the comeback is hard.
Wakaba's not even in the last 2 groups.
No, Wakaba's still down at 28. Which is just what happens with the previous seasons.
Right.
And Alyssa's at 31. So they're going to both be...
That's going to be tough for them in the short program.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the problem with our system. Like it's, it definitely, if you miss a season, it's hard. And if you are, if you're a skater in a top federation and if you're, you're not always getting the international assignments, then that's hard also.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just interesting to realize, because then it puts a skater like, so Lara Naki-Gutman is there above Alyssa, and
right. Or
and it's like, yes, recently, but like, it's also, does that actually seem like where they should be starting?
Yeah, that's true.
Someone in the chat said they thought Nina Petrokina might sneak onto the podium, and I think I feel like that would have, other people would have to make some mistakes and she'd have to skate lights out again, but I
pulled it out.
I will never count her out.
Yeah. I mean, the top 10 could honestly like be interchangeable. I feel like the depth for all the events is really good. Like it's going to be, I mean, whatever ticket you got, you're going to have a good time for sure. Yeah, for the women, I mean, top 10, like all of them could really, and I mean, especially, well, it would be different because everyone's going to be trying to get Olympic spots.
Exactly.
So I feel like it's going to be a different kind of tension, adrenaline.
And so for the women, how many Olympic spots are decided here? Is it?
Lois would know.
20. I was going to say, this is my problem, is that I don't, that I am not Jackie Wong, who I believe is doing an Instagram live in a couple of hours. And if we had reversed these things, I would be able to pretend that I was really smart and knew all of this, these facts. But
Lois, are you here? Can you comment?
Save us. This is the part that Daniel, thank you. 24. 24. I think that's I think the women and men both have to get 24 spots qualified. Yep. So that, which makes sense because that's essentially if you make the free skate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, so that's partly, half of my anxiety looking at this competition is, or more than half, is not so much about the podium as it is about, who might not make into that top group, because there are so many skaters that I would love to see get that opportunity for the Olympics that are, kind of on the bubble. But, I would, again, it's like, I would love to see there be a spot for the UK. I'd love to see Julia Sauter get a spot, but I worry, in some of these cases, like, what is there going to be, there's probably only going to be one spot for France. There's a good chance that there's only going to be one spot for Italy, though I hope that, my Lara Naki top 10 dreams are not, not totally irrational, but yeah, I think that.
I mean, her season's best score, she's in the top 10.
Yeah.
So I think she's like 9th with a 198 from Finland. So.
Yeah. No, I'm used to thinking of her as being such an underdog, and honestly, she's not really anymore. That's not an unreasonable thing to think that she would be in the top 10. But
yeah,
I would love. I know she and Anna Pizzetta have been so kind of close and going back and forth this season, and I would love to see them both have the opportunity to get to go next year and have a little less anxiety about that next year. I realized that I'm probably more anxious about the all of the Italian spots than I am about, or at least as much, if not more, than I am about the U.S. spots. Because there are a lot of skaters that I like that are going to be like on the bubble of being able to go to the Olympics or not, depending on how many spots there are.
Yeah. Or like, with Canada, how do you do?
Anything else from the women that we want to talk about?
Yeah, anybody who stands out who will not be on the podium, most likely.
I can't hear you, Ellie.
Oh.
I can.
Can other people hear Ellie?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Thank God.
That's weird. It's only me who can't hear things, so never mind. I'll just be talking at you and you have no idea if you're trying to say something.
Can you hear nobody? Or just me?
Can you hear? Oh.
Well. So who would stand out? Who's like not going to podium? But who should people watch out for?
I'm interested to see Isabeau, just because we haven't seen her much besides the Olympic trial, whatever, test event, which I know people were kind of, people wondered if she was going to be kind of the right choice in terms of the world team. But again, like there's been like 2 months or so since, and I guess by Worlds, like it'll be a good time since she's competed. So I'm excited to see how Isabeau will kind of deal with that nerves. Maybe she'll feel kind of less pressure now that, it's going to be more Amber, more Alyssa, more talks on them. So maybe she can kind of skate relaxed. And I think she does better when she has more of the confidence to kind of, especially with the jumps and executing and performing like that. So I think I'm interested to see Isabeau. I know she's reigning world silver medalist, so I'm interested to kind of see what she kind of can do here. Feels like forever ago since Montreal Worlds. But definitely interested to see Isabeau, or like Kimmy, for example. She's someone I want to see kind of. She's got definitely the tools in her toolbox to kind of make a strong appearance. Trying to think, or like even Maddie Schizis, kind of, how will she fare out in this field? There's so many people, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
So has anybody found a way to get Josephine into the competition?
Sneak her in disguise. We'll just
yeah. Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
No, it's rough. I was looking at this. We'll talk about it, but there are so many men in this competition, and I really was like, and it did make me understand a little bit where the ISU is coming from when I was trying to look at my schedule, and I was like, is that really a 5-hour free short program? Like, no, that can't actually. No, okay, yes, it is. And so it's like, okay, but it's so hard because, I love a skater like a Yari Kessler who just, snuck in over the min. So it's like, I don't want to be like, no, make it harder. Anyway, we talked about this earlier, but another place that the rules don't seem like they're
Yeah, do you I feel like they're only getting harder each year. So in terms of like the technical minimum score, they don't make it easy, that's for sure.
I'd like there to be a combined score, or for there to be some wild card sort of tiebreaker of like, if you have really great PCS and you're just below, I don't know, I'm just think about exactly how to make the math work, but it does seem like the sport is about both categories, and the fact that only one of them counts toward getting you to the competition is, I know it kind of negatively impacts a lot of the skaters that are at that, not just for like the getting to Worlds, but also just like having to compete over and over again, only thinking about your tech score is, I don't know, doesn't seem like it's great for the athletes or honestly the people watching those competitions either.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that maybe like a combined score would make that different. Yeah.
It was interesting hearing some of the the tech committee people and different coaches and stuff trying to talk about like, well, how could you make the event shorter? Like, do we really need a 6-minute warm up, or do we need maybe it could be 5 minutes, or maybe we could have it during all this, they're having the judges announced over the beginning of the first 5 minutes. So it's like funny watching like all of the ways that they're like trying to like squeeze out like a few minutes here and there, just trying to make the events shorter.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. Yeah, and with all like I mean, I like the fanfare, but I do know that also takes some time as well, kind of announcing everybody. And especially now with like the new format where you're kind of coming out of the curtain.
Yeah.
Do you guys like that? Actually,
I think it's fun. I mean, it's a little silly. Like
it's so different compared to kind of just lining up and then getting on the ice and doing you're all out there already. It's fun. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I kind of like it. I think, you know, a little bit of fanfare is not a bad thing. The at Europeans, the press seats were right above where they had the skaters coming out, so I could not see it at all. I was like, there's a LED screen and a whole thing, like no clue. Other people were asking me about it, and I was like, I can't see anything because I'm literally like looking right down on it. But that's because they don't put us in the good seats. So. Well, it's because honestly, it's because they don't want us, who are like a bunch of people sitting there looking at computers and only half watching the skating some of the times, to be the ones who are on TV.
Right. Yeah.
I can't pull up any comments at the moment. Oh, now it's working. Yeah, James was saying, I like that we get to watch it as a cringe edit. So yeah, should we move on to men?
Mm-hmm.
That was the next category on Lois' list. Well, in first place, Ilya Malinin. I mean, in second place, Yuma Kageyama. And in third place, Mikhail Shadorov.
Yeah, I do feel like I'm kind of set on Ilya being the given. I mean, home worlds too. So, and he always delivers in terms of like technical content. So, just like unbeatable just by that. And plus the home world. So it seems like it's a safe bet that we'll get Ilya to be two-time world champion now.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, I like how the depth is also really deep in the men's event too, because we have Adam as well, who I think is kind of coming up again, and is gonna peak well, I believe, for like worlds. Because he was at what was his recent one, and he looked really really strong there.
Oh, he went to some
Sonia Henny.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and he looked like he was in a good place to peak at Worlds. I do think Shidorov has had a really phenomenal season. So I could see him also getting a medal.
I would love, just out of maybe more wishful thinking than practical, to see June be in that bronze spot. I think he would have to be really clean in a way that he sometimes struggles with, but I think that his skating quality is so wonderful that I would like to see, I think even I'm thinking like, if he was clean and Shidorov was clean in my world, I would like to see June go over, even though he's got lower technical.
Yeah, I agree. I think it has the emotional appeal for the viewer, and I agree with that. He's doing just the Sal and the toe form layout in the free skate? Okay. I think because wasn't he trying like 2 Sals and a toe early on? And it wasn't.
That's a good question. We haven't seen the planned program content yet, and he might be, but he is. I don't know if he's ever had a successful 3 quad. Maybe the year he did win the silver, but
I thought the year he won the silver, he still only had the 2.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like if he can do all of that with the GOEs on those jumps, then in some ways that might be better than a sloppy third quad. But
yeah.
But I feel like we haven't seen him for a while.
He just won the Asian Winter Games.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was the whole thing of him. He got the military exemption.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Which was like a big thing. which that's actually a big thing because I know like it's hard to get that. So
Yeah.
Good for him.
So maybe he'll just be like Olympic spots, whatever. I mean,
maybe he works well under that kind of pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Who's the second Korean skater they're sending?
Oh, it is.
Si Hyung is injured, correct?
It's Hyung-yum.
Okay. Because he also replaced
Yep.
Si Hyung at Four Continents.
Yeah, and I like Hyung-yum a lot, but he's still in that kind of first senior season, low PCS. Like he's not gonna. I think he's gonna have a hard time getting into, getting high enough for spots, but maybe.
So if, let's say June medals, what would?
If June medals, then maybe he only has to get to the free skate. Sorry, this is again the part that I'm bad at.
Lois or Daniel.
But again, I think this is it's gonna be interesting to see who makes it to the free skate, because I mean it's men who are notoriously chaotic.
Yeah.
And just like looking at this group, there's a lot of people that are the sort of at 20 and below that could be anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, and even Lucas Britsky has been having a better like second half of the season, so that's something I feel like he has that momentum with the European title.
Yeah, I mean that's a great point. I do think that Lucas has a good shot at it. It's interesting because I think that Lucas, when he has very clean jumps,
yeah,
and so it's like if he's either going to be very solid or he's going to fall apart a bit.
Yeah,
somebody like I look at somebody, well, Grassel or even Memela or some of these other skaters where it's like, how is the tech panel going to be that day? That will be interesting. So it's sort of like Mika Agadze. It's like some of these skaters that are like, sometimes they're going to be great and sometimes they're not. And it's partly how they skate and it's also partly how they're judged.
Yeah. And I think, assuming that Boston turnout is good, like it could really change things for a lot of these skaters.
Yeah.
Who need kind of that audience support behind them to kind of get those marks. I'm particularly nervous for the American men, just because we got spots on the line.
Yes.
And I mean, I know Ilya's a safe one, but I really, really want to see Torgashev and Jason kind of get in there somehow, and skate really well and deliver. So my heart will definitely be.
They're both capable of it. They're both more than capable of being up in that top 10.
Yeah, and especially Torgashev, who, I mean, he was first alternate to the final, something like that. So he's been having a really good season. So and his nationals was awesome. So I just want him to it'd be great to see him deliver again. And I don't know what Jason's like. I know he passed the monitoring. So I really and Jason's someone who I feel like he's been in it in so long. He knows what it takes, and he knows what it feels like to deliver to really solid programs. I know he hasn't been able to, but he also is someone I feel like who peaks for Worlds, just as like a skater in general. So I feel like he could, and he's doing his free skate. He's going. What's he doing for his free skate?
Oh, great question.
The ISU page says Spiegel. Okay.
Yeah, but I think he might be going back to...
That's what I thought. He was going back.
But I got so confused because he took his Tarzan program and made it a short program. And so like it's not in my head.
You should just go back to Impossible Dream. I will forever love that program. He can do it 5 years in a row, and I wouldn't. Every time it's like
I don't know about what his competitive program should be, but I think he should do a reprise of his river dance program for the gala.
Yeah. It's funny because when he was in Vail for the Christmas show, I was like, what's your favorite program that you ever done? In my mind, I'm like, the moment that you had with Riverdance, like there's nothing that can top it, right? And he's like, I actually don't remember a lot of what I felt in Riverdance at Nationals. And I'm like, that's interesting. It must have been so crazy, the energy that like you just like you were lost in the moment. And yeah, he was like, I don't actually remember much of that Nationals. Like, that's really interesting, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I feel like with high adrenaline, it either like you're never gonna forget a second, or it's totally gone.
It's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, I love his Thinnerman program. That's the one. If he was gonna bring something back, that's the one that I would like to see again. But
that's a good one. Yeah. I somehow in my brain I'm thinking he's going back to Impossible Dream free skate at Worlds. I don't know why I'm thinking.
But he did that. But the thing is, he did that last year. So it's like, is he just going to keep going back to it as a thing?
Yeah.
But
I know some people are doubting him. But this was also his first full season coming back in several seasons. So, I wouldn't kind of doubt him. I think they knew that it was going to be rough just because, they're setting up more for the Olympics. It wasn't like they were looking to make the Grand Prix final or something like that. So I don't know.
I mean, what I would like to know is just like, how's it going in practice? If it's a thing where it's just like, oh, he knows he can totally do that triple axel. It's just like, it was rough, timing and periodization, like all of the rest of it, then I'm fine. I think when you don't see it for a while, you start to think like it doesn't exist anymore, and that may not actually be what's true. But
it's interesting. I know he had equipment issues, so hopefully all of that is resolved and we're kind of ready to go. Because I would love. I mean, he was 6th at Worlds last year.
Yeah.
And wasn't he like 5th one year? I don't know. Like with the
he's totally capable of being.
He's a world championship skater. Like he knows that event like so well. So I feel like, if he's even, if he's even in the top 10, we're safe. But
he was 5th last year and 5th the year before.
Okay. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah.
And that's why I think it makes sense to send him, because there's nobody else who you can
I can't think of anyone else who would. Right.
I mean, Camden was 5th once, but Camden could also not make the free skate if he has and I say this, like, I love Camden, I want him to be, but like there are skaters that you're like, do I put the clutch moment on? And that's not. Yeah.
I also and I don't know what it would feel like, but kind of like I was saying, how most of the seasons in Europe and Asia. So I was seeing how a lot of the skaters are already in Boston, or training in the States already, like flew over. I think I saw like Monet was already here. Wasn't Adam Xiaoyunfa is already here?
Yeah, I saw a bunch of the dance,
and it was like a week before. So that's interesting to me, because as an American skater, we're always so used to just flying to wherever the week of competition.
Right.
I've never really, but if it was for altitude training, like that's different. Like I know, like for that 4 continents that was in Colorado Springs a couple years ago, a lot of federations brought their skaters over and had the altitude training for a week. But it was really interesting to see how some of the skaters elected to come so soon to either adapt to the time zone, or I'm not sure what it was. But just like from my personal experience, we're so used to kind of, even if it's an Asian country, we're used to traveling that week of competition and kind of getting just those 2 official practice days and then competing. So I don't know.
It's interesting. I know there's some skaters who will come at the last moment they can. They would much rather get more repetitions at home and be as comfortable as late as possible. And then other people that would rather switch early. I feel like some skaters have had experiences recently, and maybe if they had this experience with Montreal, then they thought, well, I want to do it differently this year, of finding it hard to adjust to the smaller rink. And that's like, it seems like, you know, some skaters, like, that's not a problem. You adjust in a day of practice, and other skaters, it like really messes with their heads.
Yeah, and with European rinks and most of Asians, I feel like it's mostly Olympic is that standard. Whereas in America, yes, it's NHL. That's right.
I saw that the Finnish teams were in with Carol Lane this week, and so that, you know, they were getting that early time in North America as well, the dance teams.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm really hoping for a strong skate from Dennis here, because as you're saying, he's the only man who's coming back from being in 2016 and where like he was like still doing junior competitions and like baby skater. So it's sort of fun to see how you know, very, very different now, but I love his ballet Leviadaire free skate, and we haven't really seen a clean version of it yet this season. And so I'm really, really hoping that can have the world championship moment. Like, I care more about that than about the placements. Like, you know, like as long as he gets you know, he get like an Olympic spot. I mean, there's another Latvian skater now who would like there to be 2 spots, but like, I'm more like, he had such a great moment with the Lion King last year. I would love it if there was like that kind of reaction in front of a full crowd. So
yeah,
that's what I've got my fingers crossed for.
I know not a lot of people are have the same opinion, but I'm really interested with Kevin. I know he says he's doing a different. Well, he's doing 2 different programs. Is that correct? There was one where he said
he was going to keep his. I think he's keeping his short, because the short, he said something about wanting, because it's like about gender and transgender issues, and wanting that to be something that he was bringing to the US, which like kind of amazing that he like made that statement.
That's a statement,
yeah. But I think he's changing the free skate, which I think is
going back to the old.
I
think
new. So, but I'm not positive which free skate he's going back to. But yeah, I hope whatever, you know, he does whatever he needs to do to kind of get himself in the right space for it. It's been interesting for me to see, like, the crowds in the US love Kevin.
He always does well at Skate America. I mean, like, Skate America is like his event. So I feel so I feel like in just having a Worlds in the States, I feel like he likes it. I feel the energy, and I feel like Americans, they respond to his skating.
Yeah. I was, you know, the first time I saw that at him at Skate America a couple of years ago, and seeing that, like, I was like, wow, he's got like after the Americans, he had the next, like, you know, strongest crowd support, and it was just interesting to see that. But that he's definitely got fans and people who appreciate him. So hopefully that will inspire some good performances.
Do you guys have any upsets that you feel could? I have a special place for Shun Sato.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
And especially if he is clean, his technical content is difficult, so it could be something that we see upset some other skaters, especially if there are mistakes.
I mean, his season's best score is the 3rd best in the field. He's the next best after Ilya and Yuma, just looking at this season. So it's like, you know, we definitely shouldn't count him out. I think he'll do well. I'm a little bit worried that Tetsuya Tsuboi is going to get lost in the field, and what that means for the Japanese men's chances for 3 spots. Like, he's good, but he's not always the most consistent, and he doesn't have the sort of track record of top placements that would kind of hold him up. So that would consistent this year. So
that might put a little bit more pressure on Shun. I think with Yuma, he's kind of set. He's been under those pressure situations so many times, and he's delivered many of those times. So I think with Shun, it's going to be the most interesting to kind of see where he can end up at. Yeah, that'd be crazy if the spots are definitely going to be something to look.
Yeah, like as I look at this and think about like, who could be, a surprise, I think it would be interesting to see if Mihail Slevko could make it into the top 10. I think he's capable of it.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting also to see where, against
like Agadze.
Or Agadze, yeah, also totally possible. Yeah. Yeah, but I would love to see. Again, I'm looking at this, and it's gonna be tough because there's some skaters that I would love to see qualify the spot, and I would love to see be in the free skate, but it's gonna be hard for them. Like looking at like Kirilla Marsak, for example, or Ed Appleby or Nikita Starostin. Like I'm like, oh, I really I really want it for them, and if I kind of have that feeling, I'm like, can one of my men with an inconsistent triple axel like make it in? Like I'm not going to count that all of them will have a chance, but like maybe one of them will make it in. But yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like that all of the events that because I try to watch all of everything, but I don't always, there's always something that conflicts, so that I might not watch the first group of one event or something. And I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely watching the first couple of groups of men in the short program because there's a good chance that will be like a really determining thing for so many of those skaters.
Yeah, and I'm excited for Kirill is making his world's debut. Is that correct? The Ukrainian.
Yeah, I think. Is it his world's debut? I think it is. He's been at Europeans, but I don't think he's been at Worlds. Yeah.
So I'm excited for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy, and just I really hope for the best for him.
It's gonna be a good one, good event.
According to skating scores, he was at Worlds in 22-23.
Oh, okay.
This is just me really scrolling really fast. I don't know.
I didn't. It was that was in Japan.
Yeah, he was 25th, so
okay.
You might have missed that.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I just know that even if I'm not there and I see like the TD Garden background on my screen, I'm gonna get so many nostalgic memories.
Yeah.
It's such a different vibe, I feel. I don't know. It's so
there's something about being in an arena that you don't like think of as being like, oh, that's a skating competition arena. That it's like, oh, you're in the big arena.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny is saying it's not a fact unless confirmed by Lois. That's how I feel. If I see it somewhere, I don't trust that. Unless Lois says, yeah, that's correct. I don't trust my Googling. Should we talk about pairs?
Yeah.
Or do you want?
No, I was gonna say I think I'm most excited for the pairs event. I don't know why. I just feel like it could be one of the best pairs events in some time. Just because there's so many good teams.
Yeah.
And it's good to see the rise in pair skating. I'm most excited to see kind of what happens because I feel like with the other events, you could see like the podium in a way, and I feel like for pairs, like I can sort of, but I also there's like I don't know. I feel like there could be some upsets, just go, depending on how the event goes, or like like 1, 2, 3 might not be expected, like in terms of how the season's been so far.
I feel like there's maybe the top. I'm like thinking about this. I'm like, I feel like the top 6 or 7 are all like completely logical podium contenders, and there's another like 5 below that I wouldn't be shocked. And that there's at least 3, 4, now 5. I think there's 5 teams that I would be unsurprised if they won. So that's a really cool place for pairs to be, especially thinking just like how much the growth has been over this quad.
Yeah, For sure. I mean, it's good for the storyline, that's for sure, going into the Olympic season. What do you guys have for your prediction?
Ellie, what do you have for Lois's prediction?
Wait. Let me read out Lois' prediction. So in first place, she has Minerva Hase and Nikita Volodin. In second place, she has Riku Miura and Ryuichi Kiara. And in third place, Sara Conti and Nicolo Macci.
Oh.
See, that's where I was, because the Italians, you never know. They could really sneak up in there.
I think she also commented, like, she did not try to do any US inflation or anything. I mean, yes, it's not that important, but she was like, she just did it by what she feels like could happen.
Yeah.
I feel like for the Germans, they've kind of been waiting, in a sense, for a couple seasons now to kind of finally rise to that top spot where they are officially the best team in the world. Because they've had stellar, fall seasons and whatnot, and just haven't been able to kind of clinch that world title. So I feel like the odds are kind of in their favor at the moment in terms of they've got the most consistency this year. And I really wouldn't be surprised if they finally kind of took that that's top spot.
That's what would be my bet as well.
Yeah.
I think that they're by far they're the team that I just expect them to have clean performances, to be strong, to be there, to have to have everything. I feel like clean program to clean program, I would still give a bit of an edge to the Japanese.
I'm gonna say the same.
But I think that's the same thing where I'm like, it depends a lot. Like, I want to see how they look in practice. Like, for Riku and Ryuichi, are they fully healthy? Are they fully trained? Are they like ready to be consistent? Like, it's been kind of a comeback season for them, and they looked pretty good at 4 continents. But I would still give the Germans the edge based off of this season.
Yeah, I really want Conti and Macci to deliver. They're my special ones. So I would love to see them in the bronze spot as well.
Yeah, and they are totally capable of it. They've been looking really good this season. It's interesting that didn't put Deanna and Max in the top 3 because they very well could be there, but they are not. They just haven't been like the team that they were last year. Does not feel like the same that they are.
Do you think that's because of material, or do you think that's because of the pressure that they're now reigning world champions?
Both.
Okay.
I think that they were hungry and chasing.
Yeah.
And I think that was really, really motivating, and that they felt
the material kind of fit that narrative where they're fighting all they got to kind of get to that top.
Exactly. And like I said this after our 4 continents episode, but I really would like to see them go back to the kind of programs, especially for their free skate, that would have, Deanna as that kind of warrior character. Like, I think it suits them so well, and it seems to just also motivate the performances. That I liked their free skate better, seeing it like skated well at 4 continents. I started to kind of get the idea of it, but I still haven't loved it, and I really don't like their short program. It does not do, like, I feel like you get from Minerva and Nikita what Deanna and Max say that they want their program to be, in terms of it actually feeling like this like sexy and mature thing. And it's always been funny to me watching those programs this season and being like, I think because they talked such a good game about like what they wanted the program to show, then I feel like I was judging it even more harshly for it not.
Yeah. And I feel like if we're talking straight material, if everyone's doing clean program wise, I think I still put the Japanese on top. I think I resonate a little bit more with their music selections this year. I really like their short actually.
Yes. Yeah, I enjoyed both their programs this year, and I would love, it's interesting because I feel like I've almost similar feelings in some way about both the Georgians and the Hungarians, which is that they can be so good, and when some of their elements are just so good, and yet it's like material and PCS wise, like I have a hard time putting them up in that same category, even though I know that scores wise they may get there. But
yeah, for sure, especially like the free skate for the Georgians. Like the short program is kind of like a standout in a way, just because it's so different to everybody else. So
yeah,
it could be.
And
like
actually, I was going to say along the same note, I kind of the like weird like sex bomb program from the Hungarians is kind of growing on me, which is it's like maybe like ridiculous, but I'm kind of like, okay, you're at least committing to something weird, so go for it, guys.
Yeah. I think the crowd will respond.
Than generic, so
yeah. And I do see the crowd responding to that kind of program in a way.
Yeah.
It must be a new generation of people who haven't seen Pluchenko too many times in the 90s.
Thank you so much for reminding me. I had tried to erase that from my mind and give it a different.
You're welcome. Because that's always playing in my head when I hear that song.
No, it's true. It is, yeah. Materials wise, I also really think that the crowd could get really into Annika and Robert's programs. I could see that like doing very well with the Boston crowd being like that sort of like hyped up rock music, and so I'm really hoping that they can have like strong performances, because I think it could lift them.
Yeah. For the Americans.
Yeah.
Still early. Hopefully she can get it.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. People are flying so soon.
I also wonder if people are stressed about coming to the US right now and are flying early for that reason. But yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. I feel like also the Uzbekistan team, they just won the Asian Winter Games.
Yeah.
They've been having a standout season as well. They're so consistent. So they could also be someone to look out for.
Yeah. If they can land, especially if they can land the side-by-side jumps that they're capable of, they could really be gathering a lot of points.
Yes.
I know that they have like the ability to do some higher triples than a lot of the other teams. They're not always putting that in or being able to do it, but
were they the ones that started out this season with the loops?
They had loops. I've also seen them do side-by-side triple flips, but not necessarily like recently in competition. But
Worlds, it seems like they're putting in just toe, axle, and then the foul.
Yeah, and I think that in some ways, like that makes sense, because for them, this is just get the spot and be, and it's pairs. There's only 14 spots. I'm scrolling back to what Daniel put in the chat earlier. 16 pair spots that are decided at Worlds. So that feels challenging. I mean, not so much for the Uzbek team. I think they'll be fine, but there are fewer spots, and again, this is where my anxiety starts to kick in about both the U.S. and the Italians, who are capable at their best of getting spots, and also might not be able to do it. So
yeah, where my mind is at is I think the American teams are lucky that it's in their home country. I think that can be a huge push in terms of, I think the crowd will definitely be behind them if they deliver 100%. And so I could totally see a 6-7 placement. Like that's not even out of the ordinary. And I know Elisa and Misha are continuing to get better.
Yes.
And so they could also peak at Worlds as well and have their best. I know she's been struggling with that jump, side-by-side jump, but if they, peak at Worlds, that could be really big for them. They have good repertoire to back it up.
And they had such a good 4 continents that like I hope that also gives them some confidence that they, you know, can come into this strong, and you know, home field and everything for them. So I really,
with the US, like all disciplines, I could see we getting all our spots, and I could see we getting not a lot of our spots.
It's stressful, and it's, you know, and there are times in the past when it would have been like, yeah, okay, you know, the US pairs doesn't deserve 3 spots or whatever, right. And like, I really think that it's tough because I'm like, and I'm having this exact same feeling with the US and the Italians, which is there are teams that fully deserve to have the 3 spots, and they might not, you know, and they might not make it this year. I really feel for the pressure on Rebecca and Filippo because they're both capable of, like, if they can skate, it's like if they can land their throws, the judges are willing to kind of slightly overlook the side-by-sides to some degree, and like they could, you know, come in a like 6th, 7th, 8th kind of place.
Yeah.
If they start having mistakes, they could drop a lot. And then they're also the team, assuming that if Lucrezia and Matteo can come back next year, then they're probably the team that ends up dropped into 3rd and then wouldn't have the spot. So it's like they're really trying to qualify their own spot in a way here. And like that has a lot of pressure. But I'm they're a team that, like, you know, I watch with my heart in my throat, and then I'm like very happy for if they can do it, and also they stress me out sometimes. So.
Yeah, I think and Leah and Trent as well. Yeah, they could come in, and they had a great 4 continents. So
I really hope that they can continue that, because it seemed like they were just like hitting that new stride. It was like they were doing really well in that like sort of low expectations new team area, and then had a hard year. And so then it's like seeing them be able to get that, like to look like, oh, we're taking you seriously as a team that's a contender, not just a team that like could be good, and we're excited about your potential. And
there's so many good teams.
You know, and I looked down through this list, and I'm like, you know, again, like we haven't talked, other than her luggage, about Anna and Luke, and they have had a great season. They could be up there. I would love to see Yulia and Ikel get a spot. They're perfectly, you know, they're totally capable of getting an Olympic spot. I would love to see that come in for them, or the Australians also. So it's like, it's tough to know, you know, who might get dropped off of that, because as I look down the list, I see, you know, there's teams like the Dutch team, who I think, like, you know, they're 18th in the season's best. Like, I would love to see them be able to get an Olympic spot, and they're totally capable of it, but they also could get buried in this field. So
it's gonna be a good one. I hope everyone I would love to see all clean programs, really rep the pairs discipline a little bit more. And
I would, you know, again, that's like the part of me that's like, you know, I'm not a very patriotic skating fan, and I don't normally care that much about like how the Americans are going to do in anything, but I do kind of have this feeling of like, especially for pairs, I really want the American pair teams to do well and to be able to come into, like, I want NBC to promote pairs for the Olympics next year, and it always bothers me that pairs is the discipline that usually gets kind of dropped off of things, like not televised as much, not, you know, anything. Even when we had world champions, it was still like not being promoted as much. And so I'm really hoping that they can, you know, come into that, like, hey, we know we have people that are in, you know, that are contenders in some way. So
I feel like whenever we talk about the Olympics, everybody's most excited about pairs, or like most nervous. Like, it's less predictable than all the others.
Yeah,
I feel like pairs and women are the disciplines that, as I think about, like, how is this going to shake out? Who's going to get what spots? Like, I feel the most excitement and drama for. And that's, I mean, I always kind of love pairs, so I have a bit of that feeling, but it's often in the past I felt more like men was more interesting. And actually I feel like for this quad, the women have been, it's like, even, it's funny because I'm like, even though like, well, clearly Kaori's been dominating this quad, but never so much in a way that we didn't feel like there were other people who could be there. And so
and I think in part because Kaori always had her human moments too, where she really showcased that she was human and wasn't robotic in that sense of, you know, she's just delivering at time after time after time. Like she delivered when it mattered, when the moment really mattered, she delivered a lot. But it wasn't like she was just, you know, robotic in that sense. So she's winning everything and always doing everything. And especially this season, she's really shown a lot of grit. She had already won, you know, she's gotten everything she basically could ask for besides that Olympic gold.
Yeah.
And I mean, and she's still going and she's still, you know, out there. And it's really, it's nice to see actually that, you know, there is so much variability in sport, because I feel like that makes sports more exciting in a way. Because at the end of the day, like that is kind of a part of sports, is that, you know, that unpredictable nature of it. Obviously there's going to be like, you know, your top contenders always, but it's nice to see. And I feel like it's nice to have like the season in the sense where, you know, you had your Grand Prix final skaters, and then by world you have like a kind of a more just more depth, and more skaters are peaking and all that. So it's interesting to see who is going to fall into that, also that Grand Prix final curse too, because I know that's also part of the season naturally. If you have like a great Grand Prix final outing, like how is it gonna, and I feel like a lot of the times it actually plays out that way, where I feel like even the Germans and Minerva, they fall into that, where they win the Grand Prix final really strongly and then struggle to kind of finish it off the end of the season.
And we've been seeing that recently, that the skaters that do really well at Europeans sometimes have trouble maintaining that at Worlds. And I don't know if that's because lately we've been having some kind of like, you know, oh, surprise, you're on the podium at Europeans, now you're a contender, like kind of people. But like it's
I always feel like Europeans in 4 continents are so spread out. Was that the case this year? No.
They were like 2 or 3 weeks apart, I want to say.
I almost wish they could be like back to back in a sense, or just so that it kind of makes it more so that like if you're not like competing, sometimes it's like in December, I feel like it's usually, I don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting. One year I went to the 2 of them, and it did feel very back to back, even though I think there was maybe 2 weeks in between.
Okay.
So 4 continents was in 19th February, and Europeans is usually around my birthday, so 19th January.
Yeah, sorry. Usually I feel like it's like early in January.
This year, Europeans was a bit on the late side. It was the last week of January, because like I was thinking like I stayed in Europe for a week after, and I didn't get home until February 9th. And so then it was like so then if it started the 19th, that's like...
Oh, yeah, it ended 2nd of February, sorry.
Yeah. My own, I can only tell things by my own calendar, not by a reasonable calendar. We should talk about dance, because otherwise I'm going to start complaining about how I'm going to manage to live in Europe through all of next season. And that is not a topic that you're going to get to hear plenty of me stressing out.
First world problems. But
exactly.
I do want to say it's going to be interesting when Suri Wenjing is coming back, and also potentially the Russians, which we will talk about a lot, I'm sure, next season.
I want Natalia Zabiako to come back with Sui Wenjing, and just and that they should be they in my fantasy world, they are the team that should come back together, because I saw them do
a video.
Yeah, they like were just having fun together, but then I saw that she was doing Natalia was doing like answering a bunch of questions, and was saying, like, someone was like, you know, would you come back? And she's like, yeah, only if I was going to skate with a woman. So I'm like, all right, well, that's sounds good.
That's fine with us. Yeah, but yeah, let's talk about dance. That's, I think, a good cue here. Should I start with lowest lists? Or why did I call it lowest lists from the beginning? Lowest list. In first place, we have Piper Gillis and Paul Poirier. In second place, Madison Schock and Evan Bates. And in third place, Charlene Guignard and Marco Fabri. And
event is my second most anticipated event.
Yeah.
I am so excited, especially the free dances. Yeah. I'm sad for the free dance. In a way, like I feel like everyone's always like, yeah, dance is, predetermined. You kind of already, but just like being able to watch through the free dance event and see all of the music selections, the performances. I don't care. I love it. It's great.
I think these top three are where Lois was like, I'm not taking in any American favoring or something. That's why she decided to put Piper and Paul
I do think that may be a little challenging. But on the other hand, I would not have thought that you would have got Piper and Paul winning 4 continents either. So, I mean, I think that shakes it up enough that it's interesting.
So the thing about last year was I thought with remember how Chalk and Bates, they had the sickness. The sickness again this year, actually, funny enough. But last year they were so sick, and then 4 continents was right off the week after our nationals. So they obviously withdrew from that. And I felt like, in a way, a lot of people were like, that would kind of break the momentum. Piper and Paul obviously won that 4 continents, and then going into the world championships, that would kind of give Piper and Paul that moment to kind of be like, hey, we're 4 continents champions, we're entering the worlds with kind of that buffer in a way. And obviously with Chalk and Bates, the world hadn't really seen them since the final. So that was going to be, something that was going to, but they kind of, came out and still, won that title in Montreal. So I was kind of interested by that. And kind of the same thing coming into this season where they, did not win 4 continents again. And then, I'm interested to see, now we have the home crowd advantage, home world championship. So it might be a little bit, in my opinion, favoring Chalk and Bates. What do you guys think?
That agrees with you. My heart would like it to be Piper and Paul.
Different,
but I think but it's partly because actually what I really want to have happened is for Piper and Paul to have won last year and for Chalk and Bates to win this year. But since I can't make that happen retroactively,
material wise, what do you guys think in terms of, obviously these are the top 2 contenders? What do you think comparing material wise?
I don't like either of their rhythm dances, and I like both of their free dances, which is a new thing. Well, it's not that I disliked Maddie and Evan's material previously, but I often was kind of like, oh, that's good. I actually really find their free dance this year really interesting, and I think I know some people don't like it and have thought.
I love the jazz. Like it's so different. Like that jazz program really suits them, I feel like.
Yeah.
And especially if they're gonna kind of experiment for a year, this is the year to do it, because next season I would assume they're gonna go and do something that they've been doing kind of the 2 Olympics prior, where kind of suits them in that way. But this
It was interesting that none of the top teams really have a lyrical free dance this year. Like everyone kind of did something a bit different, and I don't know whether that means they're all going to go that direction next year. But I kind of enjoyed that it was we were seeing a lot more variety.
Yeah, I think I prefer Chalk and Bates free dance over Piper and Paul slightly. I think the Wuthering Heights fit Piper and Paul better than what they have this season. So I'm hoping that next season it can be something similar to something good, like strong for them, something that kind of fits their toolbox the best. But I think rhythm dance, though, I know that there's hot debate on Chalk and Bates rhythm dance. I don't dislike it.
It's gotten better over the course
I
of the
think
season.
in person, because I've seen it in person so many times this season now, I actually enjoy it in person. There's like an energy to it that, you know, I can see behind a screen how it's like, okay, like this feels whatever. But in person, it kind of gets exciting in that way. And I feel like the crowd will definitely be behind it. So it could be different, a different atmosphere in that sense. I don't love, there's not really a standout rhythm dance. I don't love how we keep, you know, doing the similar rhythm dances. I feel like it was good for that like first, you know, that first year, and then we kind of continuing to do that. And I know like next year is 90s. I would love
I'm really not excited about it.
I just feel like it's just the same for like same vibe, and I would love to see something different for the rhythm dance that's not the same. It doesn't, and I also feel like it doesn't allow the teams to really do anything too interesting. Feels just very like, I don't know. I guess I haven't resonated with the rhythm dances this season. But the free dances, there's a lot of like different genres, and I love that. Like the Finnish team, I'm so excited. I love their free dance, the tango.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I was going to say the only rhythm dances that I'm, you know, that I want to make a point to see are Le Brave Brisseau, because
actually, that's a different one.
I missed them. So like because of running around with the mix zone and everything, I didn't actually see them do theirs in competition at Europeans, and that was one of my regrets. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure I see them.
They have a good rhythm dance, yeah.
And I also really like both of Orahar and Piiranen programs, and I think that their YMCA rhythm dance is just fun. So like, you know, I was like, if you're gonna, it's like go. In they're very different ways. I feel like both of those teams were like, oh, you're gonna make me do something that is like a little bit like, you know, campy and like blah all the time. Like, so they're gonna really go into it. And in some ways, I kind of appreciate that it's like they're just like, we're gonna lean like all the way into the like campiness of the decade.
Yeah. I hope the next quad can kind of leave this behind and start going back to kind of,
I would say possibly everybody except Sean Redstad is on board with that. And so that will be the question. It was kind of funny because I mean, this has been my, not that I learn really anything that anyone else doesn't already know, but like I liked sitting in on the coaches meetings when I can find myself a space to sit in the back and listen, because they do the coaches meetings with the technical committees. And it's really interesting to hear like all of the, you know, the ice dance coaches be like, we should do this, we should do that, and like everyone having opinions about it, because you know, they're an opinionated group of people, and it's always very funny to hear. But there was some interest in like, you know, having it be like a movies theme, or maybe going back to doing something that was more of a typical rhythm dance, but with a twist. And so it was like, I don't know what the twist means, but like, because they're like, we're not just going to go back to like typical like pattern dance things, but something. So yeah, which I kind of feel like this like dance party theme that we've had for 3 years now feels like it only allows for one kind of thing. And even if maybe teams could have interpreted it in different ways, it's been kind of
well, it's so generic. I feel like it doesn't allow people to kind of expand.
Yeah.
And
it's
I feel
the problem with like dance, it's like dance medleys. It's like at some point, if you like medley everything, it all starts sounding the same. And like the way the rules are, it doesn't really reward people like choosing a strong direction and sticking with it. It kind of, everybody sort of goes back toward that central point.
Yeah. And I don't know what would be the best solution, because I understand, you know, some people can find a generic regardless, because it is, again, like kind of more of that technical side, like where you're showing the pattern dance and like you're showcasing like your ice dancing strengths and whatnot. But I do still think like the free, you can always be like more, you know, use the free dance as your avenue to kind of be innovative in that sense.
Yeah.
But I feel like with the rhythm dances, like keep it more traditional ice dancing, or like not even traditional, but like just like I don't know like what the best solution would be, because I could see how that could also be repetitive. But it is in that sense you're making everyone kind of do the same theme, so it's going to be repetitive regardless. Like at least make it, you know.
Yeah, I like the idea of a theme that's not just the style, you know, a style of music or something like that, but a theme that could be open to interpretation in more different ways. But I don't quite know what that would be, but I thought, you know, movies could be interesting, because then that could be a lot of different things. So I'm sure they would still have some other guidance that went with it. But I agree with what Anna put in the chat, that the dance party seems like what older generations think will attract younger fans. And I think that is it exactly, is that they're chasing what they think will like go well on TikTok, but they don't really understand it.
Exactly, yeah.
But I feel like if they were going to do something more, you know, Gen Z, I mean, the decades I don't know if does that resonate to Gen Z. I'm not sure that.
I'm too old, so like that's your.
I was gonna say I'm not.
It definitely doesn't resonate with me.
So.
And I get, you know, like that first year with the 80s, like get cool, like kind of experiment and do something different. But with 3 years and now the Olympic season, we're doing
exactly, yeah.
I don't know, like, if it was gonna be more like TikTok style, that's more modern, like maybe something more like, I don't know. It's just, it hasn't really sunk in that like we're now doing it again. Like I'm ready to just like move on.
Well, it's the same. It's this problem with like, okay, they want to modernize on the one hand, but then the music rights don't work for that. And so then they want to do 21st century, and it seems like that's not working. And so then they're doing 90s, but like, well, how much of that music will be clear? Like, so there's, it's like the problems. Yeah. These things don't quite match up with each other. And yeah.
That's difficult. Next year is going to be an issue for a lot of people, I feel, with the copyrights. I don't even know what is going to happen with that. I don't actually know what the rules will be or whatnot. But I know some of my Canadian friends, they're saying how they're already having to do, I don't know, just changing what their ideas originally were going to be. So that's going to be difficult.
Feels like it's the same. Basically, it's like what US figure skating said the rules were this year, except they're actually going to kind of enforce it more next year, I think, is the idea. That like this year they were kind of like, see if you can clear things, but if you can't, we won't actually tell you to switch your music. But I feel like next year they might actually tell you to switch your music. That's as far. I wrote an article about this over the summer, and so I tried really hard to understand what was actually going on. And that's as close as I could get to the reality. Seemed to be, we have to say that we're being really strict. We're not actually being that strict yet, but it's coming. So everybody start thinking in those ways. And I don't know if that's like, and also from the ISU, that they're also kind of putting, like there's now an ISU version of Click and Clear as well as the US version.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
Yeah.
And you have to choose from that database.
You either have to choose from that database, or you have to like go get the music cleared in through another way, which means you have to either get like the written permission from the composer and the performer and the whatever, or you have to use another clearing thing for it. Like some like I interviewed Jennifer Thomas about this because her music used all the time in skating, and she's like, yeah, I could get, you know, my like I would give people permission to use the music, and that's fine. Like people contact me, sure. But for like, you know, Beyonce, like, you know, that's not going to be so easy. So I don't know. Like,
but like someone like Beyonce, she's not gonna. I highly doubt she's gonna hunt you down because you're using a song. Her. She's like so out of this world where like I don't think she's like, oh, like this figure skater used my music. Like,
well, that's the thing, is that it's not going to be her. It's going to be the record label that will care.
It's going to be Jay-Z.
But
in that case,
that sucks.
And like most artists would be happy to have the music used, and so it's the problem is that there isn't this the mechanism for. And I think most skaters would be fine being like, okay, I have to pay a little bit to use the music, fine. Like, it's just that the mechanism to make those two things match up is still so clunky and doesn't cover lots of things that like I do think that probably like in 5 or 10 years, like all of the music will just be in a database and everything will work. But right now it's like, it doesn't match up, and the like legal requirements and the technology are not synced well. So yeah, it's messy.
Yeah.
I did want to say on the other dance teams,
because
we only talked about the top 3, that I really, really hope for I really hope the US has good spots for the other 2 teams, and that I really enjoyed Michael and Caroline's programs this year, and especially their free dance. And so I'm like looking forward to seeing it in person. And so like,
I think their free dance is more of an in-person experience. I had watched it during the Grand Prix season and I was like, okay, like, it's definitely good. But it wasn't like resonating with me until I literally could hear like a pin drop in the arena when, that one section in their free dance and it was like just empty. Like, it's definitely more of an in-person experience. And I think with the crowd to help them, it'll be a good performance. And when I watched at Nationals in person, I was like, yeah, this is art. Like it was great.
Yeah, it's ambitious in a way that I appreciate, that they were trying to do something that was that was art, and that would speak in a way and wouldn't be generic and all of that. And that's risky, and I appreciate it though. And in some ways, like, I guess I was gonna say that's kind of how I feel about the Toshler's program also, that I think that they're doing that I really like their Moby free dance. It was probably that and the Finnish tango were my favorites from Europeans. Those were the 2 that when I saw them live, I was like, yes, captivated every second of this. Like, and it was a really great, I think it felt like it was really rewarded for the Finns. And I felt like the Toshlers were really underscored at Europeans, and I've been a little bit worried about actually both of the Czech teams feel like they're not getting the scores that I would like them to have. And so I think it's like that's hard for sibling teams, and it's hard for teams that don't quite fit the same like boxes that everybody else does. But I really enjoy how unique they are, and so like I want them to be rewarded.
It's different, yeah. Whereas I feel for Christina and Anthony, for example, their Carmen free skate, I prefer more on TV. I don't know. Like the experience on TV for that Carmen free skate, I can see up close. And that to me is more of a like expressive, like raunchy free dance that when I was at Nationals, I couldn't really get the full picture up in the stands. That energy was different to what I had watched in the Grand Prix season. I really had kind of gotten behind that program, watching it throughout the fall. And I didn't get that. I didn't feel the same way as I did in the stands at Nationals. So we'll see how the Boston crowd reacts to that. But
yeah, I'm interested because I haven't seen it live yet this year. So I'm looking forward to that. But I did kind of have that experience. Like I said, I watched like maybe I think the top 2 groups of the free dance at Europeans from the stands above the judges, and was able to kind of feel like I was having like, oh, this is the experience that I'm supposed to be having. And it was really interesting to me because even seeing it from the judges side, I still felt like it was being performed for TV. It was funny, especially the choreo rhythm step. It was like, it's so like single focus that it for every program, I was like, this is the least impactful part of this program.
Yeah.
Even for the ones that I had thought previously, like, or Harin Pirinen, like it comes across so well on TV, and in the building, it doesn't have the same impact.
Yeah. And I think with the Carmen free dance, they have so many like together moments where they're kind of more expressing to themselves or to each other, and less to the outside. So it definitely feels more fit for TV purposes. And I say that because I just watched the On Ice Perspectives that they posted, and it's actually getting even better than what I had watched in the fall. It seems like it's really coming together, and in terms of like they're getting more free and like just like more comfortable to kind of it is a really like different kind of free dance in terms of, but when it comes to their vampire one last season, I feel like that was more of I felt more of like an in-person impact in a way. I'm not sure why they like to do that theatrical kind of style, but it'll be interesting to see how their free dance is received.
Yeah, I think it should be, it should be really interesting. I'm very curious to see kind of among what I would say sort of the top, the group under the podium that I would sort of put them in, and then it's like, but then we have looking at the Brits.
There's so many good like
Le Private Brissot, like there's a whole bunch of teams that I'm like,
Marjo and Zach.
Yeah.
Olivia and Tim, and like, what about Gleb and Diana? I love like the middle, in a way, like the middle section of the rankings are kind of where I'm more interested to kind of see, or like even Allison and were kind of where they stack up.
It's fascinating to me because like as I go down this list, like obviously there's a lot of teams that qualify for Worlds, and maybe the bottom, the first group or first two groups won't be as strong, but like there are teams that are in the 23, 24, 25 that are still really good teams, and so that's the like, where are Baker and Hernandez going to end up? Like I would love to see the Japanese team qualify spot, and that's going to be a tough thing. They're so good, and they're another team that I think is still a little underscored for what I see. But again, like I'm laughing at myself for saying that, because like a year and a half ago I would have been like, I know nothing about ice dance scoring, I will have no opinions about it, and now I'm just having opinions while I still don't know very much about ice dance scoring. I just feel like I've watched enough that I have more confidence in my vibes. But no, I think their Romeo and Juliet is one of my favorite programs of the season, and I would love to see them be able to move up.
Yeah. I honestly don't even know. I feel like 1 and 2 I'm pretty sure on, and 3, 4, 5, 6 to 10 I'm like, I don't know. Even like third, like I don't know who could get third, because I know the Italians, I know Guignard and Fabri, they are like kind of the third team. But I'm not sure, will that free dance resonate with the audience there?
I think they're the third best team. Are they the third? Will they have the third best performances on the night? I'm not so sure.
I will say, like, I could see them as like with their free dance last year. Like it was so, I mean, that lyrical contemporary like really suits them. I actually really hope they choose something on that like that for next season.
Yeah. And I liked their program from 2 years ago, where they kind of had some of that, but they went into sort of this dark place with it. I thought that was really interesting. Like, I feel like I want them to go with that and not with the gimmicky thing. And I think,
they are, to me, like the top team. They could be the top team. It'll just kind of come down to next season. What does everyone choose in terms of material? And I sort of think that maybe everyone's going to go safer next season, just to get those marks. But which it's not bad. Like I feel like there are a lot of great lyrical free dances that I can think of, or like theatrical free dances I can think of that resonated.
I don't mind when people go safe in the sense of like choosing, well-known music or that kind of thing. I just hope that people won't go safe in terms of like the choreography and the choices that they do with it, because like that's the part that starts to get very boring to me. Like I honestly don't mind seeing like, the 800th Turandot performance. I just want it to be, but like, if you do something interesting with it, and why not? Like when the music is really good music, you can still do interesting things with something that's been done a lot before. But
I feel like that's the biggest criticism for pairs too, is like just the elements are so repetitive that that all of a sudden, like the setups and the transitions just become the same for every single person, like that, and so then it's not as fun to watch or appealing to the audience, because they're just seeing literally the same steps into the twist, the same steps into the next jump, and then the jump, and then the lift, and then the death spiral, and then the throw, and then, you know, so it kind of just gets repetitive in that sense. So and with dance it's similar, where like they'll kind of, you know, the midline steps start to feel the same, and like sometimes the character steps are kind of just safe instead of like different or whatever, or even the lifts. I feel like dance lifts start to kind of, instead of being like innovative, it starts to just do what works, and that's similar in pairs in that sense, where I feel like a lot of the choices that are made are safe, especially for teams that are trying to stand out and be the top team. So it'll be interesting to see going into next
rules don't make it easy to do this, but I feel like that in my mind, the teams that stand out, and for me, like the mark of a good team is the ability to do a performance where I forget that I'm like, you're checking off elements as you go. And there have been pair performances that have felt like that. Like I felt like that about Sui and Han sometimes. I remember feeling that way about the Olympic programs for Aliona and Bruno, like that it actually did create that moment. And actually, I was going to say, though, that I feel like, Luke, that you and Olivia have like some of that yourself, because that with your programs, you put in a lot of choreography, and it feels like you treat the choreo sequence as like just as important a thing as the rest of, you know, as like doing a big element. And it really shows, and it really stands out, especially at the junior level.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's always about like finding where you can be stronger in a certain area than others. Like everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and obviously because our, you know, we're not like a conventional pair team in that sense, it's like where can we like be different in a way. Yeah. So that part is always fun, and I feel like that makes it exciting to kind of, especially in the process of creating. I feel like the creative processes, it makes it more, you know, you have a wider range to choose from. And yeah, like you said, Sui and Han were always interesting in the sense that you just never got the same program. And I mean, yeah, Laurie Nickel was choreographing for them every single time, but it was like it's different every single time. And yeah, and that's what makes it so cool. Even though the elements are the same for every season, it's just so different.
Yeah, so that's the challenge. But I feel like, you know, a good choreographer and a team that's willing to put, you know, to work towards that's what, you know, and that's where I feel like I would love for judges to be willing to you know, boost the composition mark or the performance mark when a team does really, you know, go there. And that is not always the case, that the team is like can get as much extra in that category as like I feel like it adds extra to my appreciation of the performance. But
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's partly why, you know, in some ways I feel like I've always resisted learning ice dance scoring, because like the more I can tell apart the elements, in some ways the less that I enjoy the programs, because I start thinking, oh, was that a good, you know, example of this thing, instead of just watching it. But
yeah, I would say I appreciate ice dance so much more when I don't view it in that lens. I feel like having done singles and now pairs, like you just view it in that lens of like, oh, like the GOE of that jump, or the lift, or the throw, or the whatever, the spin, and you don't actually, you forget, like, especially like because it is now so technically demanding, where you have to kind of, their expectations and standards technically that you can't really put into the performance, it does get really repetitive. So for dance, because I have nothing to do with it, it's fun to just watch and enjoy. And I think that's what makes it so fun. So yeah, I'll be like, oh, that looks like a level 4 midline, and it's a level 1, and I'm like, oh, okay, well,
I still can't tell what the levels are for twists, and like I keep thinking, oh, I should learn that, and then I never do because
yeah. You know what though? And this is the discussion with like something like the GOE versus the level. To me, it should be separated. To me, I feel like the level, let's say you get a base twist, that shouldn't affect like, oh, well, now I'm a judge. I see that it's a base twist. So I'm going to give it like a -1 because they didn't get the catch or they didn't get the arms or the split. I feel like it kind of just gets subjective in that sense where it's like just mushy and you don't quite know. Well, some person might be going for like the Italians, for example, Sarah and Nicolo, their twist is not like as big as like the Georgians, but they're hitting all the bullets and it's consistent. So GOE wise, you might not give it like the highest GOE because it wasn't the biggest or the fastest or the most powerful, but they got the level 4. Whereas maybe like Nikita and Minerva, they struggle to get that split variation. So, but it's nice and beautiful and it's so controlled. So do you give it a higher GOE because it's what you see, or do they get a level 3 every time? So then you have to go lower to a team versus a team that gets a level 4. So it's like, it's kind of annoying in that sense.
Yeah. You should still be able to get and I have this is like be an interesting thing to look at the scores to see like, you know, how many times have there been like level 5s awarded to something that, or I mean, there have been like +5s awarded to something that wasn't a level 4, because that should theoretically still be possible. But
and even with the calls, they can be subjective. Like the rule is like, let's say for split is like the legs have to be 45 from the center to, that's like the standard of getting that split. And to me, like maybe someone might have gotten that split, but to the caller, maybe not. So it's like, and then
it's a hard thing to see based on angles also.
Yeah. And with the catch is a little subjective because you might not be able to see it because your back is to the panel. But there was no space, right? As long as there's no space, that should technically be a catch, even if it's crashy. So like there's even discussions of, okay, let's say the twist is crashing, but you didn't actually hit contact. Does it get the catch feature, or should that just be a GOE like affected the GOE, right? It's like, what is the standard for, can you give that the catch feature and then just kind of let the judges be like, okay, well, that was a little crashy, so we're going to give it like a -2, or like kind of like, but sometimes I feel like most of the time it is just aligned where, you have the panel calling it and then the judges kind of just do it based off of that, where I don't necessarily like, there are twists that I've seen that don't get the catch feature, but it's smooth and it's nice and it's just flowy and it's done, you get the job done, but they won't get the highest GOE. So it's like, where is the standard in terms of the GOE judges side and then the call technical panel side?
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting, because I think like sometimes there, this is, if I had to show like something to somebody who had, doesn't watch figure skating, and sometimes I think that's a team doing a single twist where like the girl's like really just flying and it's huge would look more impressive to, I feel sometimes feels more impressive to me, even though I know what the difficulty difference is, than somebody doing a triple twist, because it's, simply that that height really, you can see that how much of the flying is happening in a way that's really dramatic. So it's just like, it's interesting to think about, like, is harder always better? And
yeah. And even like the steps going into the twist, it's like each caller might count it differently. So they might say, oh, well, that wasn't even, because to get the steps, you have to have even steps and timing throughout. You start it and then it has to go right into the twist. So a caller might be like, well, that to me looked uneven, so we won't give this the step feature, the difficult entrance feature, or the arms, like you have to have it bent straight all the way to here, and then it can bend to go catch. Like, where is the standard for like Well, it looks like it's been like, it's all about the subjective panel and what they see, and it's different every single time, so that's difficult as well. Yeah,
it's definitely, it's fun. I feel like this is one of the things I love about skating, is that you can know nothing and you can be really opinionated and you can think that the judges get it wrong, and then the more that you know, you can still be like, I feel like there's some kind of a bell curve of like, you start learning more and you're like, oh no, I understand why that was the way it was, and then you start really, you hit a point of learning things, and then you start getting mad again.
yeah.
All right, well, I'm very excited for Worlds now. This has been like a great, because in my mind I was like thinking about all the logistics of like going, and I had kind of not been thinking yet about all of the things skating that I was excited to see, and this has gotten me like re-hyped up for all of the events.
It's definitely the biggest, I mean, it's gonna be the best event for sure of the whole season. I feel like everyone is peaking for this, and I think it's gonna be such a treat to be able to witness. I'm excited. Yeah.
So Anna's going to be there for us. I'm so sorry. I'm reading the comment that Daniel. The more we know, yeah, that's true. The more we know, just changes the reasons we think the judges are wrong. That's true.
Yes. Yeah.
What are you guys looking forward to the most?
Ooh.
I mean, other than the stuff that we talked about, I think that I'm always like, I was thinking about, so what performances have I not seen live yet this year? I'm thinking like, I haven't seen Riku and Ryuichi live this year. I haven't seen Christina and Anthony yet. Like, so it's like, I think sometimes that is the thing that's the most exciting, because like I've been, thinking about those programs, but I haven't feel like I could really judge until seeing it live. So that's something. And like, corny as it is, I feel like I'm just like excited to see everybody. Like, I'm excited to like catch up with the skaters and with the other journalists and with the fans that I know who are going to be there. And it's just like the everybody coming together of it all is like very excited.
And you really has it out for you today. Hashtag Anna Paulus.
I promise I am not taking for granted the ridiculous thing that this is a problem that that I've only been to 4 events this season.
But it's nice that the last one is so close to you.
Yeah.
I'm in Maine, so this is between Montreal and Boston. This was like the ideal 2 locations. Yeah, I'm taking the bus actually, because I don't want to have to park all week. So because I'm still staying, I'm like 2 hours away, so it's enough that it's not worth going home in between. So I am still staying in a hotel, but it is really nice that it's close by and like a familiar location and all of that. It's a different. What am I getting called out for in the chat here?
It's all in fun. I enjoy Anna's problems, and then some candles for you, Anna.
Oh, those are candles. I was trying to figure out what that was. I'm not being cursed. No, it's very exciting. The true turnaround, I will say, is that I'm gonna be home for 1 day, and then I'm going to Adult Nationals where I'm going to skate. So I'm gonna have not practiced at all for the week before.
Where is that?
Minnesota. It's
all right.
Minneapolis. Yeah. So I wish I was going to skate pairs, but we're working on a rule change because my partner and we're not allowed to skate because it's still man and woman. But there is a proposal in front of the adult skating committee to try to change that for the future. So hopefully we'll get to next time, because we passed our test in January. But we're going to skate like showcase, which is when you're saying about pairs and choreography, I definitely had that feeling. I was like, when I'm training pairs, all I'm thinking about is the elements. I kind of forget there's even music playing, because we are like bronze level and we are not that good. So it takes all of my concentration. So then it's really nice to be actually doing the program and doing as a showcase. It's like I have 1 jump and 1 spin, and they're both like, they're choreographic. So it's very nice to have it be a totally different thing for that. So
Someone said they're not looking forward to the extreme time zone difference, and I'm like, for once, it's my preferred time zone.
I know, it's amazing. Like not having any. Not having it for me. No,
I was
no
looking at
time
the
zone.
Olympics time zone. I feel like it's so late. Like every competition ends at like 10 or 11 p.m. at the Olympics. Oh, I'm gonna be so tired.
Yeah.
Because Ellie and I are going to the Olympics.
Yay!
Yay!
Anna is an expert, and I as a viewer who knows nothing.
Yeah, so no, we're both excited about it, but
The tickets were not inexpensive at all. They were kind of, I was shocked.
I spent half of my inheritance on tickets. My mom is coming as well, so it's going to be fun. And then Anna got in as a journalist, which we're so excited.
Much thanks to the ISU because I got one of the sports specialist spots, which is I'm very grateful for. So that was hence my complaining of like, I'm going. I don't know how I'm going to afford it, but I'm going. So, yeah.
And then, of course, we will be at Europeans, where we all meet for the first time. So we have a lot to look. I feel like I'm looking forward to that right now. I can't even concentrate on the words. I'm like, there's so much to organize.
It's okay. It's okay. This world feels like it's the start of the Olympic season. So
it's true.
Where is Europeans next year?
Sheffield.
In Sheffield.
And
so we are all going on a trip.
Oh, that's awesome.
And since a bunch of our team is based in the UK, that's like everybody in together. So it's exciting.
Yeah, we just booked an Airbnb and we will stay there with right now 6 people, but potentially 8. This is just now talking about traveling.
But look, hold on, before we wrap up though, I wanted to ask Luke, are you doing senior next year or will you still be junior?
That's a good question. I know there's a lot of thoughts around that. We are doing senior next year. I know that it's kind of, we'll see kind of the second half of the season if we do junior worlds or whatnot. But we are going to do like the fall senior. And then it'll be very challenging, but I think we're up for the challenge. So we're going to go for senior, and the thought process is more just kind of like new experiences, still obviously developing and learning, and just kind of take it as a challenge, less of, like if we're live, laugh, Luke. We're just going to live, laugh, Luke, and kind of take it as that. I think what makes it more fun is just like kind of taking the challenge on as it is, and not really, I think this season it was more just like constant like in my head about the year and like comparing it to like the year before, and kind of just not fully settling and just enjoying the process. So I think we thrive under these kinds of circumstances where we're kind of just in the new experience and having fun.
It seems like it always takes a little while to make the adjustment anyway. So it's like if you can just sort of get that feet under you, you'll be even more like really ready to be the year after too.
And it's more and it's just I think there's always something to be learned anyways, whether that's junior or senior. So we'll still be, we're excited.
Then you're saying I look forward to many years of memorable programs to come. And you're also getting a prayer circle.
Yes.
Well, I'm taking it.
So I think we are coming to an end, probably.
Yes. Thank you so much, Luke, for joining us. This has been super fun to chat with you.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully I was able to add something in the discussion.
Absolutely.
You were amazing. Like, great guest. You can always come back, please.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Anytime. And
also to everybody who's still watching, please follow us on all social media accounts that you can find in the comments. And if you want to, you can support us on Patreon. It's $1 per month. That's the cheapest tier, and you can join our Discord for $1 per month. And we chat a lot about skating. So yes, thank you so much for joining, everyone.
Where you can directly ask Lois when you're like, help, I don't understand this, and then and get responses. So, you know.
Lois will always reply. Somebody knows what's up. Thank you so much for joining, and see you soon when we do the word recap and see if our predictions have come true or not.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.